Okay, Perek Ches. We're in the middle of Perek Ches. Today's Chet Tevet. So, we learned about eating until now. Things that are usr, things that are mutter. That what you eat becomes your blood, and you receive vitality from the foods that you eat. So, if you ate something non-kosher, so now you're receiving vitality. Your blood that's in your system comes from a place that's tame. So you learn Torah with that blood that's comes from a source of Toma. It does not get elevated up to holiness. But if you ate something kosher and you didn't do it for the sake of a mitzvah, nor is it something that's usher for you to eat, like eating for the sake of desire, for instance, so then it does get elevated up. If you use that blood afterwards that you received from the kosher food that you ate to do a mitzvah, to learn Torah, so it does get elevated up to holiness. That was what we learned in the first part of the parak. Today, we're going to be learning about learning. Someone who is not capable of learning all this, we learn something that he's allowed to learn. So when he learns something he's allowed to learn, but he's not doing it for the sake of a mitzvah, it's not Torah, so then it needs to go through a cleansing process. But a lesser of a cleansing process. He says that you have to go through what's called kafakela. But if you speak things that are asati to speak, you joke around, you joke about people, or you speak lashon hara or things like that. So then you need to go through an even more severe punishment, even more severe, harsher cleansing process, which is called Gehenna. And if someone can learn Torah all day and he does not learn Torah when he can learn Torah, so then he needs to go through again. It's an issur for him because he can learn Torah and he's not. And therefore needs to go through a harsher, severe punishment. Gehenna, he says, of snow plus another punishment. And if a person now, what he's learning is learning wisdom of the world, worldly wisdom, world of the goyim, wisdom of the goyim. It says of the worshippers of the Avodah Zarah. I'm not clear exactly what this is referring to. Is it referring to psychology, philosophy, or is it referring to teachings that are associated with Avodah Zarah? But let's just be safe and say if someone's learning something that's associated with Avodah Zarah, teachings that come from the worshippers of Avodah Zarah, so he's actually, it's even worse than eating non-kosher food. Why? Because we said we have the soul is made up of intelligence and emotions, and the intelligence is actually on a higher level than the emotions. In fact, we learn later on in Tanya that we're capable of transforming our intelligence to be purely holy, without any evil in them whatsoever. But our emotions are on a lower level, and they always will remain, unless we have a very big schos, and where Hashem gives us from above the capability of, well, it's not really capability. Hashem would be transforming the evil of our emotions into good, so then it's possible. But that's from Shemayim. If we receive that, then we can get that. But generally speaking, what we can do, what's in our hands to do, is to change our intelligence and transform it to be purely holy. So the intelligence are on a higher level of holiness than the emotion. And by learning these teachings, we're contaminating our intelligence. So that makes that even worse than eating non-kosher food. So this Perek in Tanya, many people learn it and they say, there we are, here's a source for Musar and Chabad. Here's where we see rebuke. We see, he spoke about Gehenna of Gehenna and Kafakela and Gehenna through snow, and he said on top of that he was even higher punishments, and the learning is even worse than that. If you're learning the wisdom of the idol worshippers, it sounds like, well, one might say, he's giving us musr, he's rebuking us. That if anybody who knows Tanya will understand that doesn't make sense. First of all, we learn later on in Tanya, when we do an avera, or a bad thought comes to our minds, or whatever it is, we need to accept the fact that it's normal. we are not on a high level. We need to, he says very clearly, the reason why you feel bad about it is because you high yourself on high expectations. You have, he says, gasutaruach, you're like very egoistic. You think that you're a person that won't do an avera. Who do you think you are? What are you, a tzaddik? Says halavai will be a benoni for even 1 minute of the day. It's a very, so we're supposed to be going through our life with a thought process that it's okay if we do averos. When do we think these negative thoughts? So we set aside a time to have these thoughts, to do tshuva, and to weaken our Yetzer Hara by bashing it. So I think it's safe to say that this parak is telling us, you can say, about rebuking ourselves, coming to rebuke us. I'm not going to say it's not, but we're only supposed to take these thoughts with us when we're doing tshuva at a set aside time where we want to get closer to Hashem and do tshuva to remove the averos from our system, to cleanse ourselves. So we rebuke ourselves. We'll learn about that more later on. So everything in this parak isn't thoughts we're supposed to take with us throughout the day. We're not supposed to walk around the day thinking, this avera scares me. I'm going to fall to this avera. I'm going to fall to this punishment. I'm going to fall to that punishment. It says in Tanya, you're going to have a Gehenna of snow. This is not supposed to be something that we're supposed to take with us throughout the day. So we're to be happy all the time, not to think bad about ourselves, and to use these understandings, these teachings of the Tanya, only when necessary to do tshuva and get close to Hashem.